I always thought the creepiest thing in the woods was the wildlife, until I saw someone watching me from inside the mountain. Back in 2017, I spent a week hiking solo through a remote stretch of the Appalachian Trail near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. I'm not new to the woods. I grew up hunting, camping, and navigating alone. But this trip changed the way I look at the mountains forever. It started on the third night. I was camping near a rock overhang. The air felt colder than usual, but I chalked it up to elevation. I'd set up my tent, started a small fire, and was getting ready to crash when I heard something off. It sounded like hollow knocking, coming from deep inside the mountain wall. Not like an animal, not like rockfall, rhythmic, repeated, knock, knock, knock. I called out, thinking maybe someone was messing with me. No response. I scanned the trees with my flashlight. Nothing. I slept with my knife next to me that night. The next morning, I noticed something strange. Near the rock wall, there was a small hole. Not natural, more like a tunnel or vent. Looked like it had been carved out by hand. I peered inside. It went deep. Too deep for an animal. Then I saw something move. 2 eyes. Human eyes. Looking right back at me. I fell backward. The figure didn't move. Just watched. When I scrambled up to run, I heard the knocking again. But this time, it wasn't just from one spot. It echoed all around me, like the entire mountain was alive. I didn't finish the trail. I hiked back the way I came. But for weeks after, I'd wake up to that same knocking sound in my head. Somewhere in those mountains, someone's still living inside the rock, watching, waiting. He didn't make a sound, but he was there every single night, just standing at the edge of the trees. This happened to my cousin Jess back in 2003. She was house sitting for an older couple who owned a cabin up in West Virginia, deep, and I mean deep, in the Appalachian Mountains. They had no Wi-Fi, no cell signal, just a landline and an old radio. Jess was 22, looking for a peaceful week alone to write music. The first few nights were quiet, beautiful even, until the fourth night. That's when she saw him. Just before midnight, she was locking up the back door when she noticed a shape in the tree line, not moving, just standing. She turned on the porch light, still didn't move. She told herself it was a tree stump or maybe a bear, but something felt wrong. It was too still. The next night, he was back. Same place, same posture. Jess called the landline from her cell, thinking maybe the neighbors had noticed anything strange. No answer. She tried yelling out, "Hey, you okay out there?" Nothing. Then, right as she started to turn around, she saw him wave. A slow, deliberate wave. She locked the doors, shut every curtain, sat in the dark, clutching a kitchen knife until the sun came up. In the morning, she went out there with a shovel. She needed proof she wasn't crazy. She found tracks, human footprints, deep and wide, circling the edge of the cabin. But no tire marks, no camp nearby, no sign of anyone living there. She left the next day. The owners didn't believe her at first, until they found a photograph tucked under the doormat. A picture of Jess, asleep on the couch, taken through the window. They never figured out who the man was. But sometimes, late at night, Jess says she still sees that same slow wave in her dreams. We heard voices outside the tent, but we were 10 miles from the nearest town. This happened to me and 2 friends, Drew and Marcus, during a weekend camping trip near Klingman's Dome in the Smokies. We hiked in Friday afternoon, found a spot near a creek and set up camp. It was peaceful, quiet. The fog rolled in early that evening, thick, like you couldn't see 5 feet in front of you. We stayed up late, telling stories by the fire. Then, around 1 a.m., we crawled into our tents. That's when we heard them. Whispers, not animals, not wind. Voices, speaking low, fast, just outside our tents. I thought it was Drew messing with us. but I peeked outside and saw his flashlight moving inside his own tent. He was still zipped up. Same with Marcus. The whispers grew louder, like multiple voices surrounding us, but we couldn't understand a single word. Then something brushed up against the outside of my tent, slow, dragging along the fabric. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The next sound I heard was Marcus screaming. We all rushed out. His tent had been slashed open, not torn, sliced, like with a blade. But here's the thing. There were no footprints, no sign of anyone around, and it had just rained. We packed up before the sun came up. We didn't care if we lost gear. On our way down, we ran into an older man, local, probably in his 70s. When we told him what happened, he looked dead serious. He said, "You camped near where that boy went missing last fall. Same fog, same voices. You're lucky you left when you did." We asked what he meant by same voices. He didn't answer, just walked off into the trees and disappeared. My uncle's basement door was always locked. But one night, I heard something knocking from the other side. Back in 2009, I spent a summer with my Uncle Ray up in a small mountain town near Boone, North Carolina. It's deep in the Appalachians, one of those places where GPS stops working and the trees feel like they're closing in on you. Uncle Ray's house sat on an old piece of land that had been in the family since the 1800s. Big wooden cabin, surrounded by forest. No neighbors, no signal. Just a radio, a shotgun, and miles of trees. He was a quiet guy, spent most of his time fishing or sitting on the porch with his dog. But there was one rule I never forgot. Don't ever go near the basement. It had a heavy, rusted door that stayed chained shut with 2 padlocks. I figured maybe it was for tools, or some kind of old family storage. I didn't ask, but I noticed something. Every night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, his dog would growl at that door. Low, rumbling growls, ears pinned back, eyes locked on it. Uncle Ray never said a word about it. He'd just whistle for the dog and head to bed like nothing happened. One night, I couldn't sleep. The air felt heavy, like the whole forest was holding its breath. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deep thuds, coming from inside the basement. I sat up in bed, heart racing. The dog was already standing at the bedroom door, growling again. I thought maybe it was an animal, a raccoon, maybe. But then came the voice. Let me out. No emotion, just cold, flat, and definitely not my uncle's. I froze, didn't move a muscle. The next morning, I asked Uncle Ray straight up, "What's in the basement?" He stared at me, didn't speak for a solid minute. Then he said, "Something my great-grandfather locked down there, long time ago. Something that pretends it's people." I thought he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. It knocks every few years, starts slow, gets louder, wants someone to believe it. That night, I slept with the window open, just in case I needed to run. I left 2 days later, never went back. But every once in a while, I hear 3 knocks on my bedroom wall. Knock, knock, knock. And I live in an apartment, on the 3rd floor, with no neighbors next door.